My name is Andrew Bosher, and today I want to show you all how to make some steezy pads just using some sine waves in the Thor synthesizer in Reason. And what you just heard, what you see here is just a random loop I made just to kind of showcase what we're going to be making. But yeah, just with some analog sine waves in a Thor, we can make some really nice pads, and it's really not that bad. So let's get started. Got a new project already open, so just File New or Control N. Get into that new projects rack here, and make sure to right click and create your own combinator. Bam! And in the combinator, of course, with everything we're going to do, with anything we set up, we'll always reset the device or initialize the patch, depending on what version of Reason you're using. So I did copy and paste the notes from the previous project over to here. Super simple. That's just to save some time. And then back in our rack, let's go ahead and right click in that bad boy, and let's create a Thor polysonic synthesizer. Click to show the programmer, right click of course, reset the device, initialize patch, and depending on how luscious or thick your chords are going to be, you can always adjust your polyphony. For the sake of this tutorial, even though I'm only going to be using 5 or 4 notes, I'm still going to raise the release polyphony to 8, but that is completely up to you. There are no right or wrong answers when it comes to this. And I'm going to also bypass the first low pass filter for now, even though we're going to just bring it back later. Let's just start off with our first oscillator here. So defaults to an analog sine wave, or saw wave, sorry, and we're going to change it to a sine wave. And then we're going to keep the octave at 4 by its default, and we're going to change the tune to -14. Click and hold, shift and drag, and you can hone in on that specific number. And then we're going to go to oscillator 2, and we're going to activate it with another analog sine wave. So bam, bam, click the sine wave here. Keep the octave at 4 once again, and let's bump this tune up to 14. So they're detuned on each other, but in equal intervals. And then let's make sure to both activate 1 and 2 into filter 1 so we have something to play out. So just with that, we're going to play it out. It's not going to be very interesting, but here we go. So as you can hear, it's clipping even, but that's just because sine waves can be very powerful. Depending on what timbre or timbral frequency or like what key are you using, they can become really full. So let's do this. Let's go to filter 1. Let's activate a low pass filter here, or low pass ladder filter. We're going to keep it at low pass 24 type 2, and essentially whatever is double the cutoff frequency will be reduced by 24 decibels. And that is basically the way it goes for the whole filter: 18 decibels, 12 decibels, or 6. So, but we're going to have a good filter cutting off those higher frequencies here, even though it's a sine wave to begin with. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to set the filter 1 frequency to 124 hertz. You can drag 124 hertz. And again, you play with these numbers. These are just guidelines. And definitely experiment. Set the resonance to 53. Give it a nice little peak at that cutoff there. And then the envelope amount here, filter envelope amount, will be at 43. When it comes to the velocity, filter 1 velocity envelope amount, that's up to you. I'm going to turn it off to 0. And that's just for simplicity's sake. But before we activate this third oscillator for a little more brightness of what you heard in the tutorial, let's hear what we have now. And just with the cutoff of a low pass filter, it prevents clipping, and it gives it a little more smoothness, and we haven't even messed with any of the envelopes yet. But first we're going to go to octave 3 here, and on this one we're going to activate the wavetable. Nice little oscillator here. We're going to go to the PPG8 HP VCF type wavetable. And essentially, of course, a wavetable is just where there's literally a table of waves, and depending on where you put this position knob, it will play out a different wave within the menu of waves it has here. So for the PPG-8 high pass voltage controlled filter, this is what we're going to do. And again, always up to you. So we're going to set the octave here to 6. So from 4 to 2 up from 4. We're going to set the position from 24 to 28. And again, completely up to you how you mess with that. But what we're going to do here is we're going to turn down the level of the oscillator 3 in the mixer to about -4 decibels. All right. And then we're going to activate it. But we're going to activate it through this filter 2 here, and then we're going to click filter 2 to amplifier enable, because we're going to be using a different filter setting for the third oscillator. So this is what we have so far. So as you can hear, since we added a new oscillator, it sounds a little bright, a little cartoonish or toyish, if you will. But we're going to kind of smooth that out with a little filtering. So in filter 2 here, we're going to add a low pass filter as well. And we're going to keep it at 24 type 2, its default. And we're going to set the envelope amount here to 59. Filter 2 envelope amount. How much the filter envelope is controlling it at 59, a little bit more. Set the velocity down to 0. Then we're going to set the frequency to 184 hertz. Nice cutoff there, a little higher than filter 1. We'll make it a little brighter, and then we're going to set the resonance to 56, which is also higher for a little higher peak and a nice little brightness enabler. So, like I said, make sure to route that filter 2 to amplifier enable. And then what we're going to do next is we're going to go to the chorus section here, and we're going to click and activate it. This is completely up to you. I'm literally going to leave everything the same except for the dry wet, which I'm going to crank to 76. Maybe a little bit of feedback, maybe like 16. But that is completely arbitrary, and that is completely up to you. So let's play it out real quick before we mess with the filter envelope. So here's the thing. As you can hear, these pads are pretty much smooth and buttery in their own right. You put a reverb on here, mess with them a little bit more, and you're good. You're good to go. The things I'm about to do now are just purely modulated, and it's just to give it some more motion, maybe a little bit more texture, but that's completely how you want to do that. But what I'm going to do here, so I'm going to go to the first, or the only filter envelope here, and I'm going to go to the attack, and I'm going to set it to about 1.12 seconds to give it a nice healthy attack so it kind of fades in with the filter. Then I'm going to set the decay to about 3.82 seconds so it kind of decays a little quicker than default, but still gives it enough time to really give it some motion all the way through. Come on. And then the sustain will be at -28.2 decibels. But this is up to you. If you want the filter envelope to stay higher throughout time, you can, but if not, you can turn it down. And the release will do about 45.2 milliseconds. Just so the filter closes off when we release a note, but you can leave it open. That's up to you. And then what we're going to do is we're going to just mess with the amp envelope. As you heard, that was a nice decay and sustain. If you want to turn it up, I'm gonna, just so you can hear more of what the sound is. But you can mess with that on your own. It's, not too bad. Just make sure to raise the attack a little bit. Maybe 17.4. Release, whatever. 54.6, just so it doesn't click, because the envelope on the Thor and a lot of the Reason devices are so fast that you'll be like click, 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 and it doesn't sound very good. So before we go to the mod matrix, let's take a listen real quick. And that's a nice pad. That's a nice pad, I'm not gonna lie. But let's just give it a little bit more motion in the mod matrix. Let's go to the first source here in the mod matrix. Let's go to LFO1. And what we're going to do is LFO1 to the amount of 31. And the destination is going to be filter one's frequency. So we're just going to be slowly modulating the filter 1 frequency back and forth. Nothing too crazy. It won't be too bright just because of the amount that we're doing it at. Second source is we're going to do LFO2. And we're going to do this to about 26. and hold shift, boom. And this is going to go to filter 2's frequency. And again, just kind of open it up, close it just ever so slightly. And the frequencies of your LFOs are, that's up to you. I'm going to randomly just make the LFO1 that controls the first filter to about 0.86 hertz. No tempo sync, no key sync. That's up to you. And then I'll make the LFO2 a little higher, 4.78 hertz. A little bit more motion on top than underneath, but still motion regardless. So let's take a listen real quick. So you can hear it drift more, and it moves more. It's almost like a wave of some sort. So just a simple LFO on a filter frequency at a relatively low amount does a whole lot. And here's the thing. This is it. This is essentially exactly what I did in the other thing, the tutorial that you heard. You could go with this, and you'd be perfectly good. Everything I'm going to be doing on from here on out is just, this is complimentary. You don't need to do this. You can do whatever you want with this, but this is done essentially. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a reverb to it essentially. Right click on it, effects, RV7000. I'm just going to make it a default patch. I'm going to make it a first hall. Very first thing it is. I turned down the dry wet to about maybe 56, just so more of the dry is in instead of the wet. And then the next thing I'm going to do is, this is just for even more interactivity and motion with the filter frequencies. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to source in the third box, voice key. So we're going to go to note full range. So any keynote you play on the keyboard from C-2 all the way up to, I think it's like C7 or something, I can't remember. Lots of keys. And we're going to set the amount anywhere from 50 to 100. And we're going to set that to either filter 1 or filter 2 frequency, or both. That's up to you. You can do that over here on the right side. You can do like one source to 2 destinations simultaneously, or you can just set it up over here. Whatever you want. So I'll just do filter 1 frequency. And we add a reverb, and that's it. And then let's just take a listen to the final product. Nothing too crazy. Almost has like a tropical type feel. But yeah, that's it. That's all there is to do. And so if you'd like, I will save the Thor patch as a ABB warm sine pad. Boom. And I'll make that available for you to download. And that's it, everyone. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you gain some insight on how powerful sine waves can be in their own right. But a super simple pad if you think about it, and not too much going on, as far as tinkering, unless you want it to. But yeah, if you have any comments, feedback, concerns, let me know. And if you like the video, please go ahead and give it a like. It really helps this information get out to more people to kind of spread the knowledge. And if you want more of these types of videos, please subscribe. And but other than that, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.